MLB All-Star, and World Series champion, right?
Yeah.
Adam Duvall.
Yeah.
Welcome to Athlete Unscripted.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me.
I'm super excited to have you. We're actually here in Nashville, exploring a new city, taking the podcast on the road. So this is fun for both of us.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I want to start off asking you spent a lot of years in baseball, and around baseball there's a lot of superstition.
Yeah.
You're 37 years old now. What's a superstition that you've carried with you for years?
Oh man, I guess there's an ebb and flow to it. You know, when you're doing well, you do sort of the same things that you did the day before. When you're doing bad, you try and do exactly the opposite. So, I mean, everything from which sock you put on first to
which one?
Well, it can change. Just like I said, it depends. And so, from one wrist being taped, two wrists being taped, which sleeve you wear. There's so many different things that when you're in a locker room with, 27 other guys and you're either playing really well, so you're in the groove, or you're searching for answers. You can come up with a lot of different things to kind of just try and switch things up a little bit. So, but yeah, it's a very superstitious game. And so, you can have some fun with it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Get the mojo right.
Yeah.
You're a baseball outfielder. A lot of people from my podcast that watch, they're from Louisville. You're from Louisville. You've played for a lot of MLB teams. You've played for the Giants, the Reds, the Braves, the Marlins, the Red Sox. What is one thing that most people might not realize about professional baseball? Because there's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah, I'd probably say how long we're at the ballpark, and then how tough the schedule is. Because a lot of people, they follow the game, they show up to the game 3 hours, and then you go home. But a lot of people don't realize that we show up to the field 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock for a 7 o'clock game. And then you get home at, around 11:30 or 12. So, and then that day can even get longer if you're nursing an injury or you've got some rehab to do. So the days can get very long. And then the other part of it is, like I said, the schedule. So, say we have a night game and then we have to fly to LA to play the Dodgers. We're taking a red eye there. So we're hopping on a plane, 12:30, 1 o'clock, flying all the way out there. You're getting in at, 5, 6 a.m. and then you're playing a game the next day. So that part is a grind physically and mentally, because, you're obviously going through the stretches of the season where you're playing every single day. So, and then you throw the travel on top of that. It can get tough.
Mm-hmm. And the season, it's a long season.
It's a long season.
And so you're doing that every single week. You don't have any off days.
Yeah.
I mean, really.
Yeah.
So how do you make time for, your wife and your kids?
Yeah.
How do you prioritize that?
Yeah. So, you try and get up and do your part, because your wife is at home with the kids while you're on the road, or, hopefully they can come with you. But, that is a full-time job, and I praise my wife for being able to handle that. And, she did an unbelievable job of just, making sure that they had things to do, and because they weren't quite in school yet. So, that's not an easy job. And so for the baseball wives out there, we see you. Yeah. So, but yeah, the schedule can get tough, but you want to be able to spend time with your kids. So, I remember my last year, we would, there was a park right up the street, and we would go and, I'd throw them baseballs, or we'd run around the swings and slides and stuff. So when you're at home, you try and spend quality time with them, but you're spending a lot of time at the field and a lot of time on the road. So, and then obviously there's the off season where you try and make up for some of that too. So, it can be tough. It can be tough on families. That's for sure.
Yeah. You have 2 sons.
Yeah.
And so are they, being grandfathered in there to play baseball? Maybe? Are they going to follow in your footsteps?
That's up to them. Right now, they're in hockey, soccer, and baseball. So, we're trying to expose them to as much as we can, and then, let them run with it.
Yeah. See what sparks their interest the most. Well, hopefully it's baseball, so you can maybe coach them one day.
Yeah, I mean, I know zero about hockey, so I am relying on the coaches to help him with that. So
it's very different.
Yeah,
it is. It is. Well, many people don't realize that in baseball, once you go pro, you then have to work your way back up. Once you get drafted or you sign with a professional baseball organization, you kind of start out there at the bottom and then have to work your way up again to reach that big stage. And you reached that big stage in 2014 when you got the call that you were going up to the major league stage.
Yeah.
What was that call like for you? Where were you?
Yeah.
What were you doing?
We were playing in Round Rock, Texas, and one of the guys on the big league team was dealing with some concussion issues. So actually, about a week before that, I switched positions. They had me playing some first base, which I had never played in my life. And so that was interesting. And then, like I said, 4 or 5 games into the position switch, I got called up. And so, they called me in and just told me I was going to the big leagues. And I remember my favorite part about it was telling my parents and then telling my girlfriend at the time, which is my wife now. But it was just, you just think about all the years that you've spent trying to achieve this one goal. And a lot of the times it's out of your control, whether it's injuries or, you may have someone in front of you that's just not going to lose their spot. And so, you sort of have to be sort of right place at the right time. And so there's a lot of things that go into it to be able to achieve that. And just for that to happen, it was a blessing for sure.
I assume your parents were your first call?
Yeah.
And what was that like? How proud were they of you in that moment?
It was okay, great. And then immediately we were trying to get flights for them out there. And so as exciting as it is, it's also a whirlwind, because you're going to a completely new stage, a completely new team. I remember when I got there at the field, it was already like the 4th or 5th inning. And so,
oh my gosh.
Which it was fine because the team obviously coordinates all the travel and stuff. That was the quickest that we could get there. But just, you're already like, oh shoot, I'm behind the 8 ball, And so it happens very fast. And so you don't get much sleep that night because you're so excited, but the adrenaline that you have is like unmatched.
Yeah.
You don't really need sleep for that night.
Right. The adrenaline gets you through. Your major league debut was in San Francisco.
It was.
In June of 2014 against your future team, the Reds.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
So I read up on this because in the bottom of the 7th, this is so cool. In your 3rd career at bat, at that level, you homered off Cincinnati's starting pitcher, Mike Leach, to supply the Giants' only run.
Yeah.
But you all lost that game 3-1.
Yeah.
However, your home run was off of Leach, which was kind of foreshadowing the two of you getting traded.
Yeah.
For each other a year later.
Yeah.
How was that? What was it like being traded for the first time?
Yeah. That was, again, that's probably more of a whirlwind because you're talking about picking up everything and at that time moving across the country mid-season. And so packing up your apartment in less than like 8 hours and just making sure that you have everything because you're not coming back because, you just got traded. And so, whereas Whereas if you're in AAA and you go up, you may come back down and then go back up, which is what I ended up doing my first year with San Francisco. And so I would say getting traded is a lot more stressful than just like than the logistics of getting called up. So
when you get called up, you've played with some of those guys because everybody in that organization's moving up and down. But when you're switching organizations, playing for a whole new team, that's a whole new team culture, coaches. Right. What was your emotions through all of that?
It was, it was bittersweet because obviously the Giants had given me the opportunity to get there, and they had put a lot of work into the development, of me. And so, I really appreciated that opportunity. But when I got traded, I did feel like that I was going to be able to get to the big leagues and stay there. And so, when I got traded, they sent me to AAA, and then I ended up getting called up a month later, and then, I never really looked back. So it was, it was a blessing.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, right now you are a free agent.
Yeah.
So you're kind of on the look out for what's next, or what is next for you?
Yeah, I think, I decided I had a job. I had a job that came on late in spring training. And it was sort of the same scenario as last year. I signed about a week before the season started. And so I was playing catch up, and it was a tough year mentally and physically, just because, I didn't really have the full month and a half to prepare for what is such a grinding season. And so I sort of felt like I was behind the 8 ball the whole time. And so honestly, I didn't really want to go through that again. I was ready, but to pick up the family, to pick up the kids, to take them out of sports and school and move them, it just didn't seem right for whatever reason. And so, I haven't officially retired, but mentally I'm retired. And so I'm at home with my wife and my kids, and I'm just enjoying watching them play their sports, and I'm trying to, just be there as much as I can because I was on the road a lot. So that's sort of where we're at right now.
Are you still training or in playing shape, would you say?
I mean, yeah, I still train. Like I'll probably always train.
Part of your lifestyle.
But I haven't touched the bat in a while, so.
Let me ask you this. Have you touched a golf club in a while then?
A lot, yeah. I've touched, I think the golf club has just taken place of the baseball bat as of now. So I'm having a lot of fun, working on my golf swing, and it's stepped right into where, because as baseball players, you're always tinkering with your baseball swing. And so, it never really fully gets out of your brain. And so, that's kind of where golf is right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of crossover between the two. You've got the power behind the swing, and I saw your hat, so I was like, he's a golf guy. Yeah. What's one memory that you have from your time in the MLB that you will hold forever? Was it, maybe the World Series championship?
Yeah. So it was, I'd have to say that it was I hit a grand slam in the World Series. And so that was probably, one of the best moments of my career. Just you obviously, that's like your goal, to get not only to the big leagues, but to get to the World Series, and then not only to be able to win it, but to be able to hit a grand slam. And that was a special moment for me too. A little side story: my grandma wasn't doing very well, and I got to FaceTime her before the game, and she could listen and she could understand, but she really couldn't talk. And so, I was just talking to her, and I actually told her, I'm going to hit you a home run tonight. And so the story is, I come up my first at bat, and the bases are loaded. First pitch, I swing and hit it out. Like it was like the man upstairs was looking out for me right there. So it was like just meant to be. And so, I'm running around the bases, and like I was getting emotional, and just because, she loved following my career, and she was always on the internet looking at, all the videos and all the, information and stuff. So she was my number one fan. So, being able to do that was really special.
Yeah. Do that on the biggest stage in baseball.
Yeah. Yeah. And for it to be the first pitch, it was just like,
cherry on top.
Yeah. It was just meant to be. It was a special moment.
Wow. So reflecting on your time back at Louisville, you obviously had a journey in your collegiate baseball and educational career as well. You were at Western Kentucky, went to JUCO, and then ultimately ended up at Louisville. Yeah. And, you're a Louisville native. Did you always want to end up at Louisville?
Yeah. So that was my dream. But I grew up in a home where we were diehard Louisville fans. And so that was always my dream. I just, my senior year in high school, I had back surgery. So I didn't get to play my senior year or most of my freshman year. And so I really had to get somewhere where I knew I was going to play. And so that was the junior college. And then once I went down there, it was my second year. So I had to transfer out. And luckily, Louisville was looking for a second baseman, and I jumped at it. I couldn't have been more happy. So.
Yeah, you obviously suffered a vertebrae injury. What was that like? And I really want you to touch on the mental side of it, because a lot of people don't realize when you play sports at that level and suffer an injury, what's that experience like? How hard is that on your lifestyle changing? It was tough. It was, so it happened my sophomore year in high school.
And then, so, we went to some different doctors, and we ended up bracing it instead of surgery. So we braced it. It ended up healing enough to really get me through my junior year. And then it was regional championship. I went back on a ball and dove, kind of awkward. And I pretty much knew immediately something was messed up. And so I tried to play through it a little bit, and I wasn't able to move like I wanted to move. So ended up having surgery at before my senior season. And then, like I said, it took a little bit longer than expected to heal. And so I didn't get to play my freshman year in college either. I played a little bit, but it just, I wasn't able to prepare for that season either. So it was, but yeah, mentally it's like, man, I really haven't played in 2 years, what happens now? And so that's why I went the junior college route. And I never let it put any doubt in my head, because I just dreamt of being in the big leagues for so long. And so, so many nights it was like, you know what, that's not going to stop me. And luckily, I had a lot of help along the way, trainers and, PTs and, different people to help me along my career. And luckily I was able to stay healthy enough and achieve the goal. Mm-hmm. So
going through all of that, the trainers, the recovery, what's something you learned about that you can apply to your life? Yeah.
I think the biggest thing is things aren't going to be easy, especially things that, are worthwhile. And so I grew up in a blue collar family. So being able to get through tough things is important. And just like you said, in life too, this is, things, like I said, things that are worthwhile aren't going to come easy. And some days you're going to have to grind it out. And that's, I enjoyed the grind. I feel like baseball is a grind, and I enjoyed the physical and the mental grind of it. So, I think that's probably one of the biggest things.
Mm-hmm. What's a moment from your time at Louisville that stands out?
There's a lot. Just from the friendships, and, you get to be so close, when you're waking up at 5 and you're all going to the weight room, and, you're all pulling for each other. And, it's, I think the process of college is it just creates that tight knit, group. And that's something that you don't necessarily get in pro ball because, in the off season, everybody's going home and, to their families, and they're all, working out on themselves. They're all different parts of the country, and being in college, it's just, you're always around each other, and so that's probably one of the biggest or the coolest things about college sports. And then, probably another big thing would be like hosting a regional, hosting a super regional. That was cool. It's just, I never got to the College World Series, and that was one thing that, was really on the bucket list, but we had some unbelievable teams and, a bunch of unbelievable guys, and my time at Louisville was great.
What did the transition from playing collegiate baseball to then going pro look like? Was it like a shock to how the system worked and how the culture and atmosphere is like, and then also the workouts and training? Was there a big change?
So that brings one thing to mind. As soon as I signed, we had a trainer that, was looking at my medicals, and, he's wanting to do a bunch of x-rays for my back, because obviously I had back surgery. So, but he, I said, look, my back's fine. I just played 56 or I think it was 56 games or whatever. And, and his response was, well, that's not a real season. You're about to play 140. I think it was 142 in the minors. That put a little chip on my shoulder because, I know how well I was prepared for the next level, playing, in that organization or, with the Cardinals. And so, I'm like, man, you don't know who you're talking to right now. Like, I'm ready to go, and so it's just because they do such a good job of preparing you physically and mentally. It really wasn't that big of a difference, to be honest. And I credit that to Coach McDonald and the other coaches, because they prepare you not just for baseball at the next step, but for life in general, because they are pouring into you every single day about, what it is to be a good teammate, what it is to be a leader, what it is to be a good person. And so those things are so important just in any facet of life. And so, I was fortunate to play under those guys, and, I owe a lot to them.
Yeah, college is such a period of time where, you're 18, you're on your own for the first time. And so to have leaders and people, coaches, just pouring into your life like that, helping shape you and prepare you to become a man or become a woman, like to become an adult in this world,
right?
Not just a great baseball player or a great swimmer or soccer player, whatever, they really care about you as individuals. And that's one of the most important pieces when it comes to finding a team and an organization that you want to play for.
It really is.
So a hot topic in the current college athletics landscape is NIL and revenue share. And many people are like, what the heck is going on with this? How have you seen college athletics shift since you graduated? There's been a lot, I'm sure. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting to see how it's all going to play out. Just from a competition standpoint, you're going to have different tiers, obviously, with different amounts of money. So, I think it'll be interesting the next couple of years to see how that how they navigate that, because you never want the competition to feel like, okay, this group is in a league of their own and then these guys don't have a chance. And so, like, that's not what college sports is about. In my opinion, college sports is about anybody being able to win on any given day. And so I hope that it doesn't change that aspect of it. And so, I just know how much money's being poured in, and I think there are guys that are staying. They're staying instead of taking that leap to the next level, which could be good for the competition. But yeah, I mean, I'm interested to see what they're going to do within the next several years to kind of,
make sure that it's a level playing field, because I feel like it can get out of hand pretty quickly. And you see that at the major league level too. You got teams that are willing to spend and then teams that aren't. And, there's a talent gap there. And then another thing I think, I would like to see cleaned up is the transfer portal. From an athlete standpoint, it pays to be able to be a free agent every single year. So I don't think from the athlete standpoint, they really want it to change. Just from a fan of a college sports team, getting to know your players and to create that, that sort of backing that we've all known college sports to be is like, I feel like that's important.
That they're rooted in the program, the tradition, the university. They know the fan base,
right?
The city. Like they're rooted in it.
Yeah, and they're not just here and gone. But we'll see. We'll see how they navigate that.
Yeah. If you were a college athlete in today's world, what would be a brand that you think you would partner with?
Oh, well,
like a dream NIL brand deal.
I think for me probably like Louisville Slugger, which they're a partner with University of Louisville, and that's who I used throughout my whole career. I actually used basically the same model all 11 years of my career. So, they're just someone that I've been involved with, and that I've seen them grow throughout my career, and I've seen them do some great things. And, it's just being from there. It's like, it's such a cool, tradition in baseball. And so I think that would probably be like my number one.
Yeah. What model do you use?
It's a C243, cupped, 33.5, 31.5, all black, one coat on the handle.
Wow.
Yeah, it gets pretty specific, but
the superstitions kind of kick in there.
Yeah. They take care of me over there.
That's good. Hometown, Louisville Slugger. It applies perfectly to who you are,
Yeah.
So that would be a great NIL brand deal. What would you buy with your NIL money? Like,
I have a degree in finance, and I love following it. I love following the stock market and stuff. I'd probably buy some stocks.
Invest. Invest. Overall, your thoughts on NIL? Do you want it to stay or do you want it to go? Closing thoughts on that.
Well, can I sort of turn that a little bit? Yeah. Can I? It can stay, because I do think like they're creating a lot of revenue, and so give them some kickback, but clean up the rules a little bit as far as the transfer portal, and try and find a way to, like I said, bridge the talent gap. Like, we can't, have this team spending millions and millions and millions and then this team not being able to spend anything.
Right.
I think
level the playing field.
Yeah, right. So I don't know that they'll listen to me.
Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. Well, there's a lot of crossover with NIL and causes near and dear to student athletes and pro athletes as well, their hearts. You're very open about having type 1 diabetes, and you say that having type 1 diabetes hasn't just changed your health, it's changed your heart. Yeah. And I think that that's really cool. You found out in 2012 when you were playing at the single A level for the Giants. How old were you at that time, and how did you find out?
Yeah, I was 23, and I was in Louisville. I was preparing for the upcoming season, and I was shedding weight like crazy. And at that time I was doing 2 a day. So I thought, maybe I'm doing too much. I'm not refueling my body the correct way. But I ended up getting into spring training. I was down like 20 pounds, and I just didn't have any energy. I was not sleeping well. And so by the time we got to spring training, they do blood tests and stuff. And they said, hey, your fasting blood sugar came up a little high. We're going to do some more tests. So I started Googling some of the problems that I was having. And I was like, yeah, I'm diabetic. Like,
wow.
Before they even told me. And so, a couple of days later, we get the test back, and they're like, yeah, we're going to send you, we're going to get you, we're going to get you dialed in. We're going to get you on a pump. We're going to get you with a nutritionist. So like that's where I say, like, I had a lot of people along the way that helped me get to where I was. And a lot of credit goes to them because, you know, who knows where you'd be if, you know, certain people didn't come into your life. And, you know, it was a blessing to have that backing and to have the people there that, you know, were really looking out for me and, you know, telling me, hey, let's go see this nutritionist. Let's learn how to manage this during a season. And so, you know, that was really important.
At 23, you kind of have a groove for your life, what you like to eat, what you like to do, how you like to, you know, live a healthy lifestyle. Was that a big shift that you had to make once you found out?
I don't think I've always eaten pretty well. But just the big thing was learning what foods affected my blood sugar the most and trying to get those out of the diet. Like white rice. I rarely eat white rice just because it jacks my blood sugar up and then I come crashing down. And so there's certain things that I learned not to really touch before a game. And so that was probably the most important. And then just, you know, learning how stress affects your blood sugars and learning how to really just manage it during a season, you know, because you're switching time zones a lot and you're getting dehydrated a lot. And so those things really affect your blood sugar, and just learning how to, I guess, combat that, you know, throughout the season while you're playing 162 games.
Yeah. You talk about the stress levels. I mean, on the mental health side of things, a lot of people don't realize what a big adjustment it is from playing a sport every single day or working out with a team every single day. Just the pressure that you have of performance. I mean, baseball is a very stat-focused game.
Yeah.
It's very numbers-based.
It is.
You know, how do you mentally stay healthy?
Yeah. Ooh. I mean, that's I think baseball is one of the toughest sports in order to keep a positive mindset, just because if you fail 7 out of 10 times, you're a Hall of Famer. And so you're failing so much, and it's day after day after day. It's, you know, you're getting 1 to 2 off days a month. Every other day you're playing a game. And so, you know, if you're not feeling good with your body, if you know, if you've got some injury that you're trying to play through, or, you know, you went 0 for 4 the past 2 nights, like that next day you've got a game and you've got 4 at bats coming at you, whether you like it or not. And so, you know, it's a mental grind to get through the season. But my last 3 years, I hired a mental skills coach, and it was a blessing because, you know, we would meet once a week and just talk about, hey, you feeling good? Yeah, I'm feeling great, you know, and talk through that. Or, whew, I'm grinding right now. And so just to be able to talk through that was really helpful.
What advice would you give to minor league baseball players out there that are currently in the grind? What advice would you give them?
I think one of the best pieces of advice that I got was trust and live in your process, because especially in baseball, so much is out of your control. I mean, you can hit the ball as hard as you can and it could be right at someone, or they could make a diving play or rob a home run, or you get a bad call called on you. There's so many variables to what happens after you do what you have to do, which is swing the bat, that you just got to trust and preparing for the game and knowing that you're prepared, and then everything else will take care of itself. Because, you know, there's been points of the season where, you know, I would get caught up in, hey, I'm hitting the ball hard, but, you know, they're catching it, or I'm hitting it right at them, or I've got bad luck, or it's easy to get caught up in that. But, and then it tends to go bad if you do. You got to trust in your process. Just understand that you're doing everything you can to prepare for the game. And maybe you make minor tweaks here and there, but just trust the process, because the process is what matters the most. The results will normally follow.
Just stick with it.
Yeah.
It is a game of failure.
Yeah,
So
it is. It's a grind mentally. That's one of the, like you said earlier, what do people, what do they don't know about the game? And that's one of them.
there's a lot.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people show up to the ballpark, 6:30, games at 7. They're
Yeah.
out of there by 10, but you've been there for 7 hours already.
Right. Yeah, it is. And then, you got in at 4 a.m. the night before, so.
Trying to take a nap in the locker room.
Yeah. They've started to implement nap rooms now, just
Wow.
because, with all the research on sleep and recovery, it's, when I first made my debut, you better not get caught sleeping in the locker room.
Wow.
It was bad for you if you did. That sort of narrative is kind of switched now, just because there's more insight on the benefits of maybe getting a 15-minute nap before the game from a performance standpoint.
Really?
So, yeah.
Wow,
The league has changed a lot from when I got into now. So
that's kind of shocking. But
Yeah.
that's good. We're advancing, we're making progress,
Right.
we're learning, researching. Last question I've got for you. What is one thing that you want to be remembered by?
I think a good teammate. Yeah, just someone that will be there for you because it's such a grind. And I know, I had people there for me when I was young. And so just being a good teammate, being a good locker room presence goes a long way, especially in such a long season. And I know how important it is to have those guys in the locker room. So I think that's probably that and that I played hard, especially in an era today where you can kind of get away with, jogging balls out. And, I want to know that I gave it my all.
Mm-hmm. And that people on your team could trust that you were going to do that.
Yeah. Right.
That's
right.
Good. That's good. Well, Adam, thank you so much for coming on Athlete Unscripted. It was great having you.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate you guys coming down here.
Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Athlete Unscripted. Make sure to subscribe so you never miss an exclusive episode and you stay in the know on all things athletics. I'll see you next time.